Ladies and gentlemen, we are live. PSR is excited to present to you Last Call, featuring your boy, the Pimp Slap POD, Mike M.
We are live and you are here. Go, Billy Bridge. How you doing, Dutch? What up, brother? Bouncer, what's up, brother? LJ from the HLJ.
Mike, man, happy to be here, man.
T on the ones and twos, -7.5, the official number we'll use. And the lines move 2 points. And this is not a show to be late for.
And now, let's get to the picks.
We be pumping! Let's go! We got a new intro. The best guy on the ones and twos in the business, making it happen. Sent it to me over the weekend. Got me all fired up. I was like, shit, I got to wait till Monday to play this thing. Let's go. I thought about just going live to play that thing on a loop for another 20, 30 minutes or so. But we are here. You guys have found it. Last call with an intro like that. How can you not be fired up for a huge day of sports betting today? It's Monday, November 27th. We got that week behind us there, that Thanksgiving week, all the holiday stuff out of the way. We're moving forward. And yeah, you're goddamn right, JW. We have put an end to it right now. That is the best intro in pub sports radio. Shout out again to our guy T. That's it. That's it. The show's over. You saw the best part of it. We can only go down from here. But we're ready to rock, man. It's going to be a lot of fun today. I'm fired up. And it was a couple of days away, you guys remember last week. Crazy Monday led to a horse Tuesday and Wednesday. But Thursday, we had the turkey time out. We had cocktails galore. I hope all of you enjoyed time with the family and friends. Friday, we had a great live stream Friday afternoon. Pub Sports Radio, the Black Friday game of the week. Was a nice one there. It was a nice little fun spot. We had a nice little comeback at the end of the first half. Unders kind of went out the window in those early games to kick things off. And boy, the public has been feasting in the NFL. I think I said 12 of 15 games have covered as favorites. That's going to tie an NFL record. That may be something you want to factor in as we look at this action tonight. But you guys know the deal. We like to give you guys an opportunity to settle in. We had a little disruption last week. We got out of our normal pattern here with the Monday to Friday stuff and had a couple of days off. But we're back. You know what? We've got the Thanksgiving college basketball tourney out of the way. Games started super early in the morning. They went super late into the morning. And just a lot of disruption, just a lot of scheduled disruption. Same thing with the 3 NFL games on Thursday. But normalcy should come back. And again, it's Monday. It's a new week. We have an opportunity to stack some new money. And we'll finish off with it. It's been a while, so we want to make sure that we go through this thing and get the right opportunity to finish off where we sit here. You guys will see the record kind of flashing around the screen here. We do sit at 151 and 129. We're up 19.64 units. And it was kind of a middling Wednesday. Get another 5 and 6 spot out there. Not the greatest, but it kept us in the hunt. So that's the most important thing here. We won with Boston. We won with Winnipeg. We did lose with Philadelphia. We took a stab at that plus money spot. And then the Calgary over 6.5. Shame on me. I went for the gamble, right? I said, let's go for this thing. Let's make it a plus money spot. We had the opportunity for 6. That was like a slightly juiced week. I think it was -120 spot, but selfishly, greed set in, took that over 6.5 and took the L along with it. So that being said, Vegas was able to come through for us at plus money spot. Baylor -16 was a push in college hoops. The South Dakota State -2.5, the Jackrabbits. I got to take better notes. SD doesn't get it done for me, especially with all that drinking that took place over the course of this past week. But they got it done for us. The Pittsburgh +5.5 and money line did not. Kind of a mismatch there. Pittsburgh was able to rebound for me over the weekend, but the Nets got the +3.5 job done. The Cavs did not get it done. And then we took a stab at that monster parlay. And we were one leg off. We were a Lindholm goal away from cashing that thing. So, hey, look, we took some shots. We had our opportunities to get it done. And we're going to move forward. We're 3-2 on the lean side of things as well. We had a Buffalo over 6, got the job done. Lindholm goal did not get in there. The Gordon double-double, though. There it is. We talked about that. We said this guy, the Denver spot, had a double-double like every game this season. And why not take a shot with a guy that was 4-1 to money? I know some of you guys tweeted me and said, you appreciated that look. So I appreciate you guys. And, the Wizards over 241 did not get there, but then the Giannis rebounds over 11.5 at plus money did get there. So hey, all in all, again, we're in the fight. We live to fight another day. And just that we are going to do. So we're over 70 plus in here, guys. Do me the favor. Make sure that you hit that like button for us. Want to make sure that everybody knows what's going on out here. Helps us a ton. Takes you just a second. Look, lots of ways to show appreciation. All I'm asking for is the non-monetary kind at this point here and saying, just hit that like button. Help me move this thing forward here. It's a big ship that we have to navigate through a small channel. And believe it or not, your like buttons help us out a ton. So do me that favor and let's keep it rolling. Smoke and mirrors out there. I love my guy Smoke in the chat, all ready to rock and roll. Justin B says they gave Suns +6 yesterday. Michael Johnson, New York Rangers, BB Moneyline Parlay. Boston Bruins. Sorry, I'm slowed here. I'm slow. I killed a lot of brain cells this weekend, so you got to bear with me here. JW, yeah, man, best intro. Let's go. Michael Johnson, Wild fired their coach. A lot of coaches got let go this week here. How about the guy down there, Frank Reich in Jacksonville, right? Guy got fired from another job. That's 2 coaching jobs he lost in less than a 12-month span. That's got to be a record. That's not a record you want to be proud of there. I think he's turning 63, and he said he's about done with his NFL story. So a big story for Buffalo. He was that backup and the biggest comeback in Buffalo had in the playoffs against Houston a bunch of years ago. It wasn't Jim Kelly, contrary to what everybody thought. It was Frank Reich that came in, led the boys to a huge comeback. And surely he'll be missed in Jacksonville. But, in all fairness, he didn't want to draft the Alabama kid there. He wanted C.J. Stroud, and he got at odds with the coaching staff there to kind of fight about who was going to get who. And the ownership took over. They won. They got their guy. And he stinks. He's not an NFL-ready quarterback at this point. So, anyhow, Michael Johnson, Zane Cole, Sancho, Ken Wild, Bo Jackson, Dana Delp. SJ says, hey, what's up? First one in the chat. Appreciate you, SJ, for coming in and rocking with us here tonight. Again, we got a big card, so lots to get into, lots to go over. You guys know the situation here. We've got the NFL. It's Monday. We're going to talk about this primetime game. I'm going to try to give you guys a couple of looks. And then, of course, after the show, the after party, if you will, is going to be the live bet stream hosted by Jimmy the Bag. I'll be out there tonight, so we'll get it rocking and rolling. And we got a great crew lined up to go through their looks as well. So I'll give you guys a little taste on this NFL. We're going to break into the NBA, the association. Now we're a couple of weeks deep. We've got some great data, some analytics that we can leverage to try to make better decisions and be a better. We're going to look at college basketball. I've got 2 looks in college basketball for you guys. And, of course, the ice. It's hot, baby. The ice has been our go-to for the month of November. And I'm really excited about the spots that we have tonight. I think there's going to be some great games in the NHL that if you don't know, you're going to find out, and we'll talk a little bit about why that makes sense. So, yeah, we got some K. Graham says Pistons smashing them tonight, guys. Make sure you do us the favor. Not only hit the like button, throw your plays out there in the chat. Let's recognize them. Let's talk about them. Maybe we're going to be on the same side. Maybe we'll be on different sides, but maybe it's a play that I don't have something that I'm going to talk about for the show, but I'll bring up a point to you guys. If you're members, you guys know the deal. In the green, we will do our best to answer your questions, comments, concerns, and all the rest. Speaking of concerns, Cheshire Cat says, serious question. You ever prank called Kmart? Cheshire Cat, I haven't prank called anybody in probably 15 years, maybe longer. I'm not sure, but I'll tell you, that's I certainly haven't tried Kmart. So shout out to you, my guy, making it happen out there. If you don't know what Kmart is, you're probably too young to be betting. And Dana Delp says Tom Allen gets $15.5 million buyout. Wow, that's amazing. These coaches and the money that they pick up. So anyhow, we're 90 deep. We got a big show to get into here. We're 10 minutes in. We've gone through the recap from last week. Again, new week, new opportunity. Let's kind of hit that refresh and reset button. Coming in refreshed and ready to roll. Our guy Bo Jackson says Lightning +1.5. Pistons first quarter. Panthers money line. Justin B likes Tampa Bay Lightning +1.5. And there's Jacqueline. What up, Jacqueline? Thanks for coming in. K. Graham likes the Utah Tech -3. And away we go here. We're going to launch this puppy and get moving here. We're going to talk about the NFL to kick off the show tonight. Kind of give you guys just a couple of high-level looks here. From my perspective, I found this game incredibly difficult to make an analysis of when it comes to the side. A couple things to note is that the Bears have not won back-to-back spread covers all season. I want to say they're 0-6 or 0-8 right now on the hop when it comes to covering the spread in back-to-back games. They covered last week as the 8.5-point dogs. And, here we go now with Minnesota coming in. And Dobbs, the astronaut, this guy's a NASA scientist, a mechanical engineer, a everything and then some as far as brains and smarts here for this guy in Minnesota. But we do know Justin Jefferson will not be playing. However, on the flip side, we saw Justin Fields made his re-entry into the league last week out there. And man, he's been running and gunning out there. I mean, he uses his legs. That's what I expected him to do early in the season. And he's kind of fallen off the hop there. But, what we have as far as these numbers are concerned is the spread open at 3.5. The Bears, they're sitting around +3 now. 41% of the bets and 64% of the cash are sitting there on the Chicago Bears with a half a point of movement. I'll tell you what, this line feels a lot like this Bills and Eagles game yesterday. Yeah, you know what? We talked about it previously. Why are you going to keep fading them Eagles? But what you did notice is if you waited to the late spot, that line moved from 3 to 2.5. If you bet early, you missed the boat there. You left your money tied up either all day or all week. And you pushed out at the very end, and you were lucky to push out. Whereas that late betting is great betting theory came through for us. The 2.5 was able to cash for us, -2.5 with that overtime win. But I feel a lot like this line here with this Bears and Vikings spot with this 3.5 down to 3. Again, 41% of the bets, 64% of the cash on the Bears. The total is starting to tick downward. Again, we know primetime games, 48% of the bets and 66% of the cash on the under. And it opened at 44, down to 43.5, and continuing to move southward. As far as the money line, because we haven't seen too much of movement when it comes to the actual spread, and then a spread like this where, sometimes the money line is helpful. We do see the Bears opened up as plus 150 dogs, road dog, 20% of the bets, but 68% of the cash have moved that Bears line down to plus 140. So about 10 cents of movement to that road dog spot with the Bears, if that's going to help you out. Couple of thoughts that I had for this game here, just kind of short and sweet to me. I expect the game script to dictate how I'm going to live bet this thing as well here, but I envision the Vikings, are going to pull ahead. So, we talk about Kirk Cousins. I know it's Dobbs, but just hear me out with this thing for a second. Kirk Cousins had horrible primetime numbers. Everybody knew the thing about his Monday Night Football and Sunday Night primetime. In fact, anytime he played a game after the 1 p.m. window, he was a loser. It was like a sure thing. It's a sure thing can get when it comes to sports betting. But that was with the Commanders, or the former Redskins at the time. He moved over to Minnesota, and he's turned that record around pretty significantly. I want to say he's 8-3. Kirk Cousins was in his last 11 primetime spots, all with Minnesota. So he's got a new division. He had a new look on life. And that team, and the reason that I bring up Kirk Cousins is because that team had helped elevate Kirk Cousins' game to that spot. I said this earlier today on the sesh. Shout out to our boys, Dutch and Dabby. I think Dobbs is an upgrade over Kirk Cousins. I'm not a big fan of Kirk Cousins. I don't like the mechanics he has. He just reminds me of a speedier Ben Roethlisberger, I guess is the comparison I'll use out there. And I'm just not a fan. But I like that Dobbs has got the wheels. And I think that changes this playbook. I know the offense has kind of got some question marks around it. But, we talked about this a week ago, right? Who's Dobbs' passing partner in the offseason? It's Hawkinson. So he's got that familiarity with moving those chains in a tightly contested battle where you want your tight end to go slanting across the middle. A couple of spots that I did look for this game, though. Nobody blitzes in the NFL like the Minnesota Vikings. And what do I think that does, and how's that going to affect this game? I think it's going to put Fields on his heels quite a bit. And what he's going to have to do is he's going to have to roll out and make moves. Now, he got hurt in the Vikings game that they played earlier this season. So this is the second time around. What happened in that game, though, is he had 46 yards and 8 rushing attempts in the first half of that game. So we're looking at his rushing attempts, Justin Fields, to be over 9.5 at a -110 spot for me. I locked that down as an official prop bet. He's going to have the full game, and he's only going to need an extra 2 spot out there in a spot where I expect that pressure to be on this guy. The pocket's going to collapse, and he's going to be rolling around all over the field. He sacked him 4 times in October. There's Kelly V. Appreciate that, Kelly V, dropping in here as well. And I think that's going to put him in the scramble. So, the rushing attempts was my play there, not the yards. Big distinction between the two because this kind of falls into why I ended up with this DJ Moore spot for my next bet as well. The DJ Moore over 5.5 receptions. Bottom line, right? We know the horsepower that Fields and Moore have when they connect out there, and they're willing to be prolific and go all over the field and get it done. I think DJ Moore had like 10,000 yards that one game a couple of weeks back. We all saw it. We all cashed on it. It was a great spot for DJ Moore. But I think in this game here, because of that blitzing, what's going to be more prevalent is going to be those short dink and dunk passes. You don't have time to let the wide receiver on the outside roll 15, 20 yards down the field. At best, you got 3 to 5 yards. I think that is going to complicate and compromise his actual yardage gain this game, but I do like the fact that he's going to get 5.5 receptions, and it's a plus money spot. Are you kidding me? At 5.5 receptions, I can't find the notes that I had on it, but when it comes to 5.5 for me with this guy, that's right around a season average opportunity for him, and I think he's got the opportunity to knock this down in the first half. So I expect short passes. I expect a lot of dink and dunking. I do like, and you'll see it's a lean, I just haven't gotten there yet, is the Justin Fields interception. I do believe because there's going to be that pressure on him, and I expect the Vikings to be ahead early in this game, that we're going to see Justin Fields have to start throwing that ball a little bit more in that second half, and he's going to have to open it up because they're going to be down, I envision, 10, 12 points, and they're going to need more than just that field goal to keep them in contention at this point. So I expect in that second half we'll see that field interception spot out there. I like the plus 115 now, but we know with these interceptions, especially come second half, those numbers are going to get even juicier. So it's a lean for me for now at plus 115. But boy, I wouldn't be surprised to see that thing at 145 or 150 by the second half of this game. So that being said, I certainly will love to hammer away at that thing. Then, and a couple of notes I had just on those primetime unders, Minnesota is very much an under team. They're 8-3 to the under this season. We know primetime unders are 26-9 to the under. So a lot of things kind of stack up for the under. The thing that kind of concerned me early, though, is that money was on the over. And so although we're not seeing the movement on it, and now we're starting to see the public buying in and moving that number down to 43.5, I think it's a terrific live spot for the over, especially if we can get like a 3-0 first quarter. I do think we're going to see that pattern kind of get disrupted here. I do think these teams are going to go after it. The other note that I had is the Bears. I want to say they've lost 12 in a row against NFC North opponents. So they are not playing well in this division, and I think that's going to compromise their ability to win this game on the long haul. I think it's a spot for Minnesota tonight. I just haven't figured out how to pull the trigger as far as the sides and the total. So I don't want to just throw a dart at you guys and say, hey, I think this is going to happen, but I think there's money to be made in that thing, and by the time we get to the Jimmy the Bag Monday night live stream, I'm sure I'll have something official for you guys that we can lock in and look to cash on. I know I've got a same-game parlay that's kind of in my back pocket, so I know the boys have had a lot of success. Jimmy especially has been leading the charge now with the same game parlay spots, and I'm happy that he's been putting that cash in not his pocket, but everybody's pocket. So let's move on. Let's talk about the next game there. Just the one in the NFL today. Man, it feels like the NFL has been going every day. They had Thursday games. I mean, they literally have been going every day with the exception of Saturday. But we had a packed slate with college football, and it was a really good Saturday for me on the college football circuit. So we'll move forward here. Let's talk about the NBA, though. We're going to get into the association, guys. 130 plus out there. Appreciate everybody jumping in. We just talked about the 2 looks for the NFL game for official plays thus far. The over 9.5 rushing attempts for Fields and the over 5.5 receiving receptions for DJ Moore. So we'll talk more about some of those plays on the later part of this show and next. But we're going to jump in, guys. Hit that like button. Give us the thumbs up. Help me, help us, help move this thing forward here. We got a lot of folks jumping in here, a lot of new faces as of late as well, and it means a ton to see you guys kind of trusting and relying on us to deliver the goods for you. So let's talk about this first game. So we've got the you'll see the right-hand side. You guys know the way it's set up. The right-hand side shows you the games that we're going to cover. The top, you'll see the bets that we've got locked in, either official plays or leans. In this case, we do have an official play. And look, not the Magic Man, right? I don't have that crystal ball, although sometimes it feels like it. But I do like this spot here with this over. The Pacers over. And I know what you're going to say is the Trailblazers over. We'll talk about this in a second. Like, how are the Trailblazers going to be the ones that get there? They don't score a lot of points. I got this line open at 11. We're now at 12s. 29% of the bets, but 46% of the cash. Ergo, sharper money, the bigger bets are coming in on the Trailblazers. I'll tell you, there's a ton of bets coming in. It's a 48,000 sample in this mix here, but they're showing the bigger bets coming in on those Trailblazers. It is recent money as well. So, the Trailblazers moving up to 12, I think is where that ceiling is, where the books are starting to think, or the sharps are starting to think that's going to be the max point. At 240 is where the total opened. 95% of the bets, 97% of the cash. Kind of makes me a little nervous that everybody's on this over and it hasn't moved. There are some 241s out there. So if you're thinking about the under, make sure you line shop. But I'm not going to try to, get cute with this thing. This is a straight over play for me. There's a couple of things I like with this game too. I like a Halliburton spot. I looked at Halliburton. his 3-pointers, he went off for us last week when we had a spot for him with Portland or with Indianapolis. And his over 3.5 threes is -110. His 5+ is +200 on FanDuel. So I jumped in on both of those as official plays as well. So I've got the Portland play over. I've got Halliburton over 3.5 threes and over 5+ threes. I wouldn't be mad at anybody that wants to go 6+ at 450. The guy had like 12 the other night. So, give me that spot with Halliburton tonight. I think it's a good spot from a player prop perspective. Also, when I was telling you guys about some of these trends that we're looking at, so in the month of November, the Pacers are 12-0 to the over, right? So clearly it's Pacers looking like a good spot there from a total perspective. They should do their share to push that number over for us. However, on the other side of things, what about Portland? Double-digit dogs that are off of back-to-back spread covers are 24-0 to the over, going over by 15 points in that spot. So we have an O spot, a 24-0 to the over for Portland. We have a 12-0 spot for Indianapolis. And Indiana, I'm going to call that the intersecting zeros opportunity. You guys know when we have intersecting zeros. We have a huge trend moving in that direction, and I'm going to jump on it as well. I got 240 out there. Let me just line shop and make sure that's the best number that's available for us. When I started this thing, it was 239.5. So we did start to see a little bit of upward movement here. And 239.5 is still out there. It's -112 for 239.5. That's going to be the number we go with there. I see it over there on FanDuel. So we will take advantage of that over 239.5, and we'll move on to the next game, guys. I appreciate everybody dropping in here, hanging out with us, trying to get this card figured out here before we get bopping, and bopping we will. We're going to look at this big one here between the Lakers and the Sixers. And, man, it's the hot city right now. We had a big Flyers win over the weekend, a bigger Eagles win over the weekend. And now you're bringing the Sixers out to me saying just got to lay 4.5 points right now against the Lakers, who just had a huge game yesterday. Anthony Davis just had a monster spot out there. Second end of a back-to-backer, -4.5. The line's moved to -5. 34% of the bets and 76% of the cash on them Sixers. And I want it. I want every part of that thing. So the total opened at 231.5. It's down to 230.5. 72% of the bets and 70% of the cash on the over. So it is kind of problematic that number's not moving. It kind of suggests that the books don't care about that bigger money coming in on the over. They want to see this thing go under. They're looking for the under. The money line has moved in the direction of the Sixers as well. Again, I don't, money line when you're on a 12 or a 6-point spot, a 5-point spot doesn't excite me, doesn't get me too jacked up about this thing. But the number that we have out there right now is a 4.5. It's -115 at BetMGM. So the 4.5 -115. You know what we're going to do? We're going to take the 5 is -105 at Caesars. So we're going to use the 5 and try to keep this juice down. I don't think that point's going to matter. I'll tell you why exactly in just a momento here. But when we look at this game, the Sixers coming off that win against OKC, we've got them, took that loss to the Minnesota Timberwolves. That was kind of a tough spot, but they did have that back-to-back road thing going on there. And, we've got the Lakers who, literally just played against Cleveland. This is the second end of their road trip here. They're back-to-backer, if you will, on the road. And, they beat Cleveland as 4-point dogs, but I think you got a Sixers team here that's just too damn good. They're just too good. They're at home now as well. And you know what's going to happen here. This is the only trip I believe LeBron's making out to Philadelphia this year. He's going to show up and he's going to want to ball out, but he's getting old, man, and he's got miles on them tires. So I think in a spot here where you've got, Embiid and the boys ready to fire. I see a lot of you guys in the chat talking about Tobias Harris. I see Londo says under 5.5 total rebounds. Maxey under 6.5 assists. I'm on the other side of that Maxey play. I like Maxey to get the job done tonight. I think it's a good Maxey spot, but I do appreciate you sharing. There's Talk Sports with JT says Tobias Harris over 6 rebounds. This should be a fun game. Yeah, pretty sure highest total for the Lakers all year. And we talked about this last week. The Lakers only win at home, right? They seem to struggle when they go out there. And obviously I shouldn't say only, but they do seem to struggle a little bit on the road. And I think here's a spot where you've got a Philadelphia team that's fired up, ready to roll. The Sixers are 14-2 at home versus the Western Conference opponent. They're 14-0 when the spread or when the total is lower than 233.5 as well. So you got a 14-0 spot right now for the Philadelphia 76ers. Also, when they're playing a non-conference team and the line's less than -8, suggesting it's going to be a tighter game, they are 11-0 against the spread, delivering the goods. And, oh, by the way, how about them Lakers? The Lakers are 0-14 against the spread, If they were a road dog last game and either won it outright or lost by less than 5, so they covered the spread in that previous game. Their next game up, they are 0-14. I got a 14-0 spot for the Philadelphia 76ers. I got an 0-14 spot for the LA Lakers. Give me them Sixers. I got the -5 at -105 to keep the juice down. You want to take the 4.5? That's more power to you. I mean, we still get the 5 you would win, the 5 I would push, but I think this is just too much opportunity, too much advantage for this home team right now. This city is red hot, and that stuff matters with these fans coming to the games, man. They're going to show up. You're going to get even the peripheral fans that don't necessarily go to games go, man, I'm having a lot of fun going to these things. Let's get out to this game and have a ball. And I think they're going to tonight. The Lakers coming to town. It's a big game. It's a big team. Philadelphia should have no problem getting up and ready to kick the shit out of the LA Lakers and LeBron. So let's move on to the next game. We're going to talk about the Wizards and the Pistons. Wizards-Pistons game. Let me pull it up right now, and we'll talk about the splits in this thing here. We've got the Wizards opening up. Where is it here? Where is it? There it is. We got the Wizards open up a +3. So here's kind of a combination factor for me where I'm looking at the spread, I'm looking at the line movement, and I'm looking at a trend to really kind of drill this thing down. Yeah, we talked about some of those other spots, but here's one that's the red flag. You got everybody, the public, 63% of the bets are hitting this Pistons line. It moved from -3 down to -2 out there. Now, you do have 53% of the cash on the Wizards at that +3 spot. So they're suggesting a potential Wizards opportunity here. The number itself, 234.5, has moved up. It's 237.5, 87% of the bets, 94% of the cash on the over, and it's moving. You guys know how I feel about these dog spots with the totals moving on that over side of things. That certainly helps me feel better about the dog. And then the last kind of box to check is this money line. Open at +124. It's down to +118. We have 31% of the bets on the Wizard, 55% of the cash on the Wizards money line, and it has moved. It's moved, it's not a tremendous move, but it wasn't a lot of movement to work with in the first place. So, I see that there's threes out there, but you better get them. DK's got the 3. It's moved to 2.5, and it's even moved down to 2 out there. And one of the numbers that I came across here, you guys know I look at the trends in 3 buckets, right? I try to look at team-specific trends. We just talked about the Lakers and the Sixers are some team-specific spots. I talk about player prop spots there where we talked about guys like Halliburton before. We talked about some different assist spots out there, Ayton and his spots out there, Aaron Gordon and such. I also look at NBA-wide or league-wide trends because I think those kind of fit some of the story a little bit more. When you got 2 bums out here in the Wizards and the Pistons, collectively they've combined for 4 wins on the season. They're not doing great. They're not doing well. They're not even doing poor. They're just doing lousy. And, I think in this spot here, the number that jumped out to me is saying we got a double-digit losing streak on a favorite. I feel like the books are just saying, hey, don't overthink this one. Take the home team and the Pistons. But road teams that have allowed 115 or more points their last 5 games against their opponents, and the team that they're playing has allowed 125 or more the previous game, NBA-wide are 22-2. It's a 92% winning edge for the Washington Wizards in this spot. It's an NBA trend that goes back a number of years. I'm going to take the 3 points. You know what? I think this ends up being maybe even a 2-point game. I like the 3 for the Wizards in this thing. I think they're live to win this thing outright. The sharp money's coming in on that money line as well. But I jumped in on that +3. It's still out there. So if you like that thought process, get it while it's hot. Like I said, when you got a road team that's allowing its opponents to score 115 or more points in its last 5 games against the team that just allowed its opponent to score 125 points or more that previous game, 22-2. It's a Wizard spot for me with that 92% edge. I got to jump in there and take advantage of it. I'm not going to mess around with that thing. So let's keep rolling. Let's talk about this next game. We're rolling through the association here. We got 2 more spots left in the NBA. And this one was a little tricky. This one was definitely a function that moved me off strictly because of player injury report, right? So we saw that Lauri Markkanen's not going to be playing in this game for the Utah Jazz. And it's a big factor, I believe, more so than not, because he kind of leads that squad. And when it comes to, just aggressive play and getting points, I mean, that guy's average point number is like 26.5. And you're taking out almost a quarter of 100 points on a team that should barely get to 100. I don't like that spot whatsoever here. But the Pelicans open at -4. It is -6. We had 81% of the bets and 92% of the cash on the Pelicans. Believe you me, the number opened up at 4. It was sitting at 4.5 all morning. It got up to 5.5, and I was so close to making it an official play, but I had to reach out to T, and I was like, dude, you got to back it off for me. I hate to be put safe around this thing here, but look at who the Pelicans just played, or during their current run here. They just saw the Utah Jazz, and they lost to the Utah Jazz 105-100 as a 3-point favorite out there. So now you got a revenge-minded team without one of their top scoring guys in the squad. It's just a tough spot for me. It's a lean at best. What I will say for you, though, again, we talked about no marketing. The Zion factor is still a question mark. I haven't seen any updates on him. Now, he did not play in that last game when New Orleans played the Jazz. So we got to certainly monitor his health and his status. It's moving up now, so it kind of makes me think he is going to be available, but he is still a game time decision. It was just a rest thing. It wasn't like a back thing or anything else like that. It was just trying to give him some rest. He seems like he sat out all last season. I don't know how much rest he needs, but looks like they're going to probably try to do that again. And I just struggle with who's going to score for the Utah Jazz. Chris Dunn's their guy right now. He's averaging 13.2 points. And I just talked about taking out a marketing with 25 points. There's not enough points left to get this job done. I mean, unless New England or New Orleans goes out there and throws up 10 points for the full game like a football score, then I struggle with this one here. Now, the Jazz as a home dog, when the line's between +2 and +6, and the total's under 235, are 7-0 both straight up and against the spread. So when they're a home dog in this price range here, we have the 6, so we got to keep our eyes on that 6. If it moves over 6 as we get towards game time, all cards are off the table when it comes to this thing. That's another reason why I had to move it back to a lean. But I did want to share it with you guys because the margin is pretty healthy at 10 points. It is a revenge spot. There's a Zion factor. There's no marketing. There's just so much kind of stuff. There's so much noise going on with this game is what I'll call it. That I just couldn't get there and pull the trigger as an official play. Chilla says Zion is Shaq-esque with his free throws. Londo says Dyson Dennis. Man, you guys are throwing some great plays out there. Over 4.5 assists. Love to see it. Nasty Nate says, "Where's Dunn from, Mike?" You know where he's from, Nasty Nate, aka land of the clovers, baby, the 4-leaf clovers. The Kelly D says New Orleans up late in the fourth quarter, lost that game, last game versus Utah. Yep, RotoWire does not have Zion game time decision. They have him starting. Okay, well, there's the updated news, Dan Kelly. Thank you very much for sharing. I suspected that with that line moving, from 4.5 earlier today now to seeing 6. So. That's just going to be an official stay off for me. I still love that fact that they're 7-0 against the spread, but I think it's just going to be a cancel outright altogether. So, I think just with that being said, I don't want to be so flimsy on this thing here, but yeah, Kelly V says rematch New Orleans at Utah, New Orleans with Zion tonight. That's all the makings for New Orleans to win the game outright, at least. I don't know if they're going to cover the 5.5, but we will see. Last game I want to talk to you guys about in the association, probably one of my favorites. It's not an intersecting zero spot, but I think it might be one of my favorite bets on the entire card tonight, frankly. We're going to look at this Clippers game. We got the Denver Nuggets going up against the Clip Show, and it should be a lot of fun for this one here in LA. The Nuggets now recently kind of backing everybody out of the squad. So the Clippers opened up at -3. They're up to -10.5 right now. 59% of the bets and 92% of the cash on the Clippers. And I think this is just strictly a factor of the injury-related news. This is why we've got the show, The Last Opportunity. Jokic is out. Aaron Gordon is out. Everybody's out for Denver. I locked this thing in earlier today at -3.5 for the first half with the LA Clippers. I expected, I saw the news earlier today on Gordon being out. I did expect, though, that kind of if you look at the situation with these teams, we've got a team that, the Clippers is starting to show some signs of hope here with this James Harden experiment. They started out super slow at this thing. They lost like everything out there, and they had to kind of rearrange and restructure. They had to check their egos is what it came down to, right? You had guys that had to willingly decide to go back to the bench and kind of make those moves. And, what we see now is the step up of Paul George. Paul George is the man out there getting the job done. He's averaging 25 points a game. He's averaging 6 rebounds a game. He got 25 points his last game. I think it's a bad spot for Denver, and I think they know it. They're just waving the white flag off the hop. Now, what I will say is the Clippers, when the line is less than or equal to -9, which in this case it's gone, right? Now we're seeing 12. So this trend's kind of going, this trend goes away. But I still thought it was worth mentioning and saying in the first half of a season in Clippers games, when the line is less than a 10, they're 0-12 to the under, and they're sailing under by 15 points. So, as far as the line movement with this game, Let me see where we opened at here. We opened at this game with the 3.5 is still out there for the first half. So I am going to make that an official play. We opened this thing at 218. It's down to 217. So you know what I'm going to do in this game? I'm going to add this under. My reluctance when I think about adding spots at the last minute, but there's a lot of factors that line up for me on this thing right now. So 217 is the number I see out there. The Clippers are a slow-paced team, and I like it. So I'm going to have a double spot on this game here. I've got the minus 3.5 is out there right now. It's minus 114 I see for the 3.5. So there's a minus 3.5 at minus 114. I hate to lose the hook on this thing for the official show plays, but it is what it is. And then I'm going to go with the total, and I'm going to take the under 217. So I am adding the under 217 in this game. Just a great spot, I think, when you're losing your points, you're losing your players. No Joker, no Gordon. Yeah, some of those backup players should step up, but I just think it's a good opportunity for us to jump on this under. So we will take the under as a second ad for this game. Late ads, you know what? We took one away with the Jazz. We're adding one with the under here, and that's how fluid this stuff moves when it comes time to getting ready for the first tip, the puck drop, or kickoff, or whatever else it may be. So let's keep it rolling. Let's move on. We got a nice action-packed slate here in hockey. I'm excited to talk with you guys about hockey. You know we've been having a tremendous start to the hockey season. Dan Kelly says there is no 3.5 first half. Where are you seeing that? So let's take a look. Oh, I'm sorry. Did I say half? I meant quarter. Did I say half? I meant quarter. No, I was on the half. My fault. Let me look here. Good point. Sorry. Thanks for pointing it out. Shit. 5.5s now. 5.5s. Gotta keep me honest. I appreciate you being honest. Keep me honest in the chat. I appreciate you guys being honest in the chat. I'm still gonna take it. It still lines up for me. Minus 5.5, minus 125. Minus 6 at minus 115 is going to be the number I jump on. So the minus 6 at minus 115, it's getting a little high. It's getting a little high. Yeah. You know what? Yeah, I'm going to stick with it. I'm going to stick with it. Minus 6, minus 115, and the under 217. Thank you for holding me accountable to that thing. I didn't want to give you, I was looking at the first quarter. I don't know why, but let's go with that first half. We're going to take the under 6. Wouldn't be mad at anybody that wanted to go with that first half under 3.5 or 4. But anyhow, I am where I am. We are where we are. We're going to move on. We're going to talk about this hockey game. And the first one I want to pop off. This is what I was saying. Hockey should have a lot of fun. There's a lot of narratives and kind of subtext going on here that are subcontext that you guys may not be aware of if you're not the everyday hockey guy. So, Florida and Ottawa, big matchup here tonight. We got the Tkachuk brothers. We got Brady and Matthew Tkachuk. Lineage of a father, the patriarch of the family, is a former hockey player as well. And the boys are out there, and they're going to square off against each other. Now, they're super competitive. We see every time these two play, they go out there, they score a ton of points. They get a ton of shots on goal. They take these games over. And kind of what I like about the Tkachuk story was last year, Florida kind of started off with a difficult start to the season. And Tkachuk went over and sat down with his old man at one of their breaks, and he said, Dad, whatever's going on, and we are where we are. And he was like, he looks at his kid in the eyes. He said, "You're too soft." And he was like, "What?" And he's like, "You're too soft. You're playing too soft." Ever since they had that conversation, he's gone out there and been a multi-point a game contributor. He was so crucial to what they were doing in their postseason run and moving into this season as well. Now you got him going out there against his brother, unconfirmed thus far with Korpisalo, but the goaltending matchup for Florida is Sergei Bobrovsky. I was going to call him SpongeBob again, and he's sitting at 9-6-1. We have Korpisalo on the other side at 5-4. There was uncertainty around whether Korpisalo was going to be the guy or not. 2.65 goals against average for Bobrovsky and a 90.6 save percentage. On the other side of things with Korpisalo, he's got a 3.17 goals against average and a 90.6% save percentage. So just coming down to the fact that he's getting a lot more shots taken on him because Ottawa just doesn't play a lot of defense out there. Now we are seeing cash coming in on the over, and this is one of those factors where SpongeBob's coming off of a 3-0 loss. He did make 93.3% save percentage, so it wasn't necessarily his fault that they lost that game. It was really just a lack of scoring. Anytime I see the goaltender gets over 91%, I got to move in that direction here. He's 1-3 in his last 4 games, but he's let 3 goals or less in each of those games. So Korpisalo is the wild card on the other side of things. He's played for 5 of the 8 Ottawa wins on the season. But I just think this is a bad matchup here. You got a team where SpongeBob's trying to bounce back. The Florida Panthers are ready to roll. Ottawa, I know Claude Giroux's up there and trying to do some things, but he's getting old too. Also, when you got a previous opponent in Columbus, Washington, or the Jets, you're 31-20 in that side of things, which favors the Florida Panthers. You're also 40-11 to the over with an averaging in around 7.4 goals per game in those spots. So I think that kind of speaks in my mind to, does Korpisalo go in this game or not? I love the narrative with the Battle of the Kachucks. There's a spot that's out there on FanDuel, and I very rarely will take some of these things that are already baked in. But I'll tell you what, I got Florida Panthers minus 120, and I'll share with you just an extra play that I'm looking at there. I took the Kachuk brothers each to get 4 or more shots on goal. I got them each to score a goal, and then I added the Florida Panthers in there, and I want to say it was 17 or 18 to 1. So very rarely am I an advocate of those kind of pre-built parlays, but I think in this case, it makes a lot of sense. Both those guys shoot. They play aggressive when they play against each other. When you're looking at the app to see who's scoring goals, you see Kachuk. You don't know who the hell it is because they're both putting the pucks in the net. So it's the Battle of the Kachucks. It's Kachuk-ageddon out there, and I like that little spot as well. So I took the Florida Panthers, though. First lockdown hockey play for the card here. I got it at minus 120. Let's take a peek and make sure that's still the best number we can get. But I like the Florida Panthers to get this job done. I think they have the superior opportunity in goaltending. They're coming off of that trend that I was just talking about where you're playing a specific team and you come back and you rally. And I see that the minus 120s are now minus 125. So hate to lose the nickel, but it shows that we're looking at potentially the right side in that thing as well. So we'll take the minus 125. We'll make that Florida Panthers an official play. And just kind of bear in mind what I talked to you guys about with that Kachuk-ageddon there, the Kachuk gate here, where I like those guys to get shots. I like them to get goals. And I like the Panthers to win this game as well. So Dan Kelly says, here's a tasty nugget. Zion is averaging 8.2 boards on the road and 4.5 at home. Wow, that's an interesting look out there. Don Play says, are we on the Vikings tonight, fellas? Interesting conversation, Don Play. We talked a little bit about that earlier. I just had some props that I locked down for you guys. Kelly D, what up? Whit Chubb says, who loves the Vikings tonight? JW says, someone should tell Popovich he's too soft. Yeah, it was a pretty cool story that I heard when I was reading about that there. And I mean, if you go back and you look at what he did the second half of the year, Matt Kachuk, that is, not Brady, Matt Kachuk, the second half of the season was really the guy that lifted that Florida Panthers team on his back, and coupled with strong play out of Bobrovsky and goal. The two of them were just a combination that you would dream for if you're a hockey fan. So anyhow, next game we're going to talk about here. We're going to keep it rolling. We're going to look at this Boston and Blue Jackets game. Another difficult spot for me. So I was officially going to lock in the Boston under 6.5, but I still saw the goaltending variance here. I'm seeing Martin in goal for the Blue Jackets. And if that's the case, I don't want any part of that. I mean, Merzlikins is the guy that I would feel comfortable backing at best. Boston was Swayman. Swayman's 7-1-2. He's a stud. Boston has mastered the art of playing both of these goaltenders at any given time. So Swayman, Allmark, they got a great stable ready to roll out there. And Swayman at 7-1-2. Martin's 1-5-1. Swayman's got a 2.28 goals against average and a 92.6 save percentage. Martin, 3.37 goals against average, 89.7% save percentage. Just a real difficult spot when it comes down to it. All the money's coming in on Boston. It should. But what you might not know is Boston's on their worst stretch of the season. They are 1-2-1 in their last 4 games. Now, Martin, on the other side of things, the goaltender, hasn't started a game since November 19th because he sucks. He was terrible that game. He let 4 goals in on 25 shots. They took a 5-2 loss to the Philadelphia Flyers. Difficult spot. I know a lot of folks that I was talking with earlier today were like, I like this Boston minus 1.5. I like the number, and it was around even money when we were talking about it earlier today. That number, I believe, is gone. I just don't like the variable out here. I don't like the goaltending matchup. Do you want to back a heavily favored Boston team in a travel spot on a Monday going against a team that's been getting slapped around? I mean, yeah, on paper it looks good. Boston's not clicking just yet. And that to me is enough to kind of warrant me away from it. Now, could you be creative? Could you take the Boston Bruins on the money line and maybe parlay it with the New York Rangers? That's not a bad look out there. I wouldn't be mad at anybody that wanted to do that. I think the Rangers are going to handle Buffalo tonight as well. I didn't cover that game, but just a couple thoughts out there. I just don't want to get involved. I don't want to overextend myself on a Monday, and I don't want to overextend myself on a team where there's just, such a good team at a shit price, in my opinion, when they're minus 250s and minus 300s with that uncertainty on their worst stretch. If they're so bad, the numbers should be like minus 200, and then I would maybe consider something. I wouldn't take the minus 200, but maybe regulation. I don't know. I'm just going to pass on that game. I got the lean for the under 6.5. Just wanted to share the thoughts with you guys on that game. And then I think this next game is going to be a fire them up, get ready to go, get the band in town and rock and roll here. Tampa Bay at Colorado. We have Vasilevsky versus Georgiev, right? We have Vasilevsky 1-0. You guys heard me talking about this guy. Johansson was in goal for Tampa Bay. He started out well, and he needed to get the heck out of there because he is bad. Vasilevsky came back, though, and he played shut-down goaltending out that last game out there. So he's got a 91.7% save percentage, 1-0 to start off his season because of those injuries. Now they're running him back-to-back, and on the other side with Georgiev here, you got a 12-5 guy who's been the bear for Colorado, 2.95 goals against average, 89.2 save percentage. Kind of a difficult spot there when you look at the save percentage. But Colorado started off the season slow. They weren't getting it done. They were battling a bunch of injuries. And if you look at how these two teams are made up, first and foremost, got to get this off the table. Colorado as a favorite versus Tampa Bay is 8-0, and they're winning by 1.38 goals a game. So there's this big 8-0 factor. Also, a team that we look about when you're playing previously, when you previously played the Calgary Flames, and now you're a home favorite, you're 37-15, you're winning by 1.25 goals. Another Colorado spot, in my opinion. Again, Vasilevsky makes his debut, makes 22 of 24 saves. They win 8-2 in a blowout against St. Louis. This is the front end of the back-to-back, and although it wasn't officially confirmed, Vasilevsky should be the guy because they did say that Johansson's going to be the guy the next game. So a couple things to be concerned with when it comes to the injury front is Nathan McKinnon, big offensive component for Tampa Bay, is out with is questionable with an illness. So they could be without him. I haven't seen it official yet. And I mentioned Georgiev and two guys kind of moving in different directions here. He started 17 starts for the Colorado Avalanche. It's the most in the NHL. He had a bad October. He was saving 83.2% in October. His save percentage now is 82% because he's had a solid November. He's let up 3 or less goals in 5 of 6 games, and he's averaging a 90.3% save percentage. They brought Vasilevsky back against St. Louis with your Tampa Bay because they knew they needed him to get some conditioning time and really test out and build that confidence in where he's at. Put the boots on, put the skates on tonight because you got Colorado. You're in their barn. There's a lot of advantage in their direction, and this is a modest price. Colorado, 3 or more goals in 7 straight games. They're a team that back checks incredibly well with their top 6 guys. They've got offensive defensemen and Makar and Tays, and it's just a bad spot. They also block a lot of shots. The shot suppression for this team is 27.7 goal shots against average. They're not afraid to jump in front of those pucks and help their goaltenders out when they get in trouble. So all those factors for me point strictly to a Colorado Avalanche spot. One of my favorites. I think this is a great spot. I think it's a great matchup. I think it's going to be a lot of fun to see how these teams truly come out with their goaltending. I wouldn't be mad at anybody that wanted to put goals on the board and see that happen here, but I think these teams are going to be ready to roll, and I think it's going to be a lot of fun to watch. So the current number that's out there is minus 126. We're going to lock that number in, minus 126, and we're going to talk about this next hockey game. It's the last hockey game on the board for me, and I like this one quite a bit as well. It's probably my favorite hockey game on the board here tonight. I think there's going to be some great battles in that Florida game. I think that Boston game's got some wild card behind it. I think the competition and the matchup of like the Stanley Cup preview between Tampa and Colorado is going to be a lot of fun if you're a fan. But I like this Vegas spot here, and I like Vegas in an angry position. If you look at what's going on here, first and foremost, Vegas changing up their lines. They're changing them up. They announced this morning they're throwing them in the blender. They're hitting the blend button. They're mixing them all up, and they're going to change the combinations because they've been shut out in 2 of their last 3 games. But does that concern me? Not entirely, because what they did this last game is they played those dog shit Arizona Coyotes, and they lost that game 2-0. But they took Aiden Hill out, and they went to their backup in that game because they knew this Calgary Flames team was on deck. We got Aiden Hill, their go-to, at 9-2-1 on the season, facing off against Markstrom, or playing in the other net against Markstrom, who's terrible at 5-7-2. Aiden Hill, 1.97 goals against average, leads the NHL, 93.2% save percentage, leads the NHL. And Markstrom at 293 goals against average and 90.1 save percentage. Difficult spot, I think, when it comes down to it. So, yeah, you know what they didn't do, though, if you're looking at this Vegas side of things, and you see their 2 back-to-back shutouts, they got ready to play against Dallas. They were comfortable. They were confident playing in Dallas. I gave out that pick for Vegas against Dallas, and they got it done for us with the 2-1 game. So lower scoring games. Also to note, Vegas is one of the lowest scoring overall teams. They allow the fewest goals out there after they're coming off of a loss. So what you want is a team that takes a loss and they tighten up the clamps. They play defense-oriented first. You've heard me talk about that in a couple of different sports, and I think that rings true tonight. When you're the more rested team, your win percentage is greater than 50%. Your opponent's win percentage is less than 50%. You got a 38-14 factor in your favor. That's a 73% win angle with a 1.27 goals margin out there. So that all supports the Vegas Golden Knights here. The over is 35-15. I know there's a lot of cash coming in on that over, but I just know how Vegas plays when it comes to coming off of a loss. I think they got their best goaltender in for a reason. They also did give Markstrom the night off that previous game for Calgary. So Calgary's backup went in there as well. Markstrom did let up 4 goals in each of his last 3 games. So he's no shining, torch out there, but he's the only torch that they have. So it was enough to keep me off of the total, but I love the Vegas side in this game. I think this is a great spot for Vegas to bounce back tonight. New line combinations. It's going to be a lot of fun to see how they pull it out. It's a -113 spot here. And I think we're getting that -113 on a Stanley Cup champ in the first third of the season because they had, 2 shutouts back-to-back, and they only scored 2 goals against Dallas. But that Dallas spot was very much a rematch from a playoff opportunity. So I love the spot. I think it's great. Wow, we got 170 plus in here, rocking and rolling with us, you guys. Do us the favor. If you haven't already done so, hit that like button for me out there on the video. You guys hear me say it all the time. Sal Barami. Congrats, my guy. Sal Barami. I hope I'm saying that right. If I'm not, I apologize. I read what's on the prompter, and so sometimes that's detrimental. But we got a new member, my guy, Sal. We appreciate you jumping in and joining us here. We have a lot of fun. We always appreciate the new members. I want to take the opportunity to shout them out because it does help us a ton. It shows we're growing. It shows that you guys are liking what you're hearing, and it just means a ton to see that happen. So we appreciate it all, especially the like buttons, the members, the donos. It all goes into the same kitty, and that kitty is to help put new content together to give you guys more winners. So let's keep it rolling. Ian says, smash the like button. Let's go. Kelly V says, under in the Vegas game, but do like Huberdeau points for Calgary. Can't be mad at that. Huberdeau's been a guy that's been getting the job done. There's Ron Walsack says, Big Cat is in for bolts per John Cooper today. Will not give up 4 goals. No, I don't think he'll give him up. And it makes sense that he's in because they said they're putting Johansson in for the next game. They already announced that he was going to be the guy for the next game. And you're not going to take Vasilevsky off the bench now. He's their go-to. He's going to probably end up playing majority of the second half of the season. So we'll keep our eyes on Tampa Bay and what happens as we move forward. But it's important to know those narratives behind the scenes because it's things that we can monitor and then cash on and take advantage of throughout the rest of the season. Let's break it down here. We got college basketball left, the hardwood. I've got 2 looks for you guys on the hardwood. And I like them both, frankly. You guys have heard me talking about the St. Mary's team quite a bit. And I think the styles are going to make the fights in this case here. I think this fight is really going to come down to the defensive spot. So St. Mary's, let me get the splits up here. Bear with me. It's a shorter NBA card, or college basketball card, so it shouldn't take me 10 minutes to scroll down to this game, and it's a later game. So for those of you that are looking for that later action, I like this spot. You guys have been seeing me rocking and rolling with St. Mary's. I've been taking some black eyes with St. Mary's here. But I think 2 things are going in their favor. One, they're a hell of a defensive unit out there. This number opened at -5. It's now -4.5, 59% of the bets and 69% of the cash now on St. Mary's. The other thing that they have going for them, 1, hell of a defense. 2, they've got more depth than Utah. I don't think Utah is really deep when they get past their 5th man. So I think that's going to wear them down and be a challenge out there. They're playing in St. Mary's. It's a true home court advantage for St. Mary's. And let me give you some numbers on this thing here. So I just talked about, Utah, their defense allows 71.2 points a game, and St. Mary's defense is only allowing like 59 points. You're not going to be in a position if you go out there and get torched to be competitive in this game. And St. Mary's at home should be very motivated to do just that. Now, when you're coming off a spread margin, right? So this is an important number for us. Doesn't happen all that often in college basketball over the last number of years. But when your margin of cover this previous game was larger than your previous game before that and 15 points on it, then you're in a situation where you're 25-11 against the spread. So basically what that's saying is you got the boots kicked out of you and lost that game against the margin by 15 points or more. And this game, the previous game that you played, you corrected it, you got it right. Now you're home It's a tremendous opportunity, 25-11 for St. Mary's. I like this number. I like the 4.5. I like it at 5 if that's all you can get. There's tons of 4.5s out there now. I know it's a later game, so some of you guys are going to want to shop around and maybe hang on to that one a little bit. The second game I want to talk to you guys about here, we're going to look at this Eastern Kentucky game and kind of off the beaten path. I know it's a smaller college basketball card, so not a ton of plays out there, but look, Eastern Kentucky, -5.5, 53% of the bets, 67% of the cash on that Eastern Kentucky spot. We're starting to see some 6.5s out there. So I like the line movement that we have with Eastern Kentucky. Also, now the total has moved from 150.5 up to 153.5. 64% of the bets, but only 41% of the cash are on that over. So it has moved 3 points. Now we're seeing that sharper money coming in and taking the under. The money line has moved a ton in the Eastern Kentucky's direction as well. 82% of the bets, only 26% of the cash, and it's moved almost 50 cents from the opening number. When you look at how these two teams kind of match up against each other, I know you look at the schedule and you see Eastern Kentucky's at 2-2 on the year, Troy's at 3-3 on the year, and you're laying 5.5 points, but I think it's for a reason. I think when you look at how these two teams match up against each other, I do think it's a mismatch. That score, the spread to me is indicative of how this game should go. Eastern Kentucky lost to Prairie View. That was a bad loss for them. And they also lost to UTM. So I think in that spot, when you take those two favorites as losses, they've ratcheted that Eastern Kentucky line way down. This is a tremendous buy low spot. Where on the flip side of things, Troy hasn't really played anybody, right? I mean, they beat Oral State by a point, but we talked about Oral Roberts being terrible, right? I was on the wrong side of that one. I probably put some of you guys on the wrong side of that one, but we know they're not a very good team. Then they play Sacred Heart, right? Is that Sacred Heart or Sam Houston? Let me tell you, it might be Sam Houston. It is Sam Houston. What a dummy I am. But nonetheless, I think it's a bad spot for these teams and how they match up. I think Eastern Kentucky's ready to roll with this thing here. I think their spot just dictates that they're the right team to get this job done here with the spread. Why is a team that just lost back-to-back spots now -5.5? The sharp money's on them as well. It's a lean for me. It's not an official play for the show, but I just looked at the cash flow movement, and I think it's that buy low opportunity for Eastern Kentucky Colonel's position. So, yeah, thanks, Dunya. Sam Houston. Oops. But that's it, guys. That's the show for us here. We got a couple of minutes to 7, so we were able to get it all in for you guys. Last call, number 24. I'll break it down from the top. And again, appreciate my guy T back there on the 1s and 2s. I'm excited for some new segments we're going to have this week, and it's going to involve our guy. That's the little sneak peek for you, but we will give you more of that later this week here. We're going to start this card off. I've got the NFL. I've got Justin Fields over 9.5 rush attempts -110. DJ Moore over 5.5 receptions at +110. I've got the Trailblazers game over 239.5. I went Halliburton over 3.5 threes, and I got his 5+ threes at +200. I'm leaning on his 6+ at +450, so keep that in mind. I jumped on that 76ers. I actually bought up that half a point to a -5 because it was -105. I've got the Wizards +3. That was a -110 spot for us there. That's kind of that coin flip that shows the NBA-wide trend is in their favor. I lean the Jazz. I'm not a big fan of that one at all, especially given the news now with Zion that our guy Dan Kelly shared for us. I did still go with the Clippers first half -6. I locked it in earlier, but I'm still going to go with it. I think the news, no Gordon, no Joker, no bueno for the Denver Nuggets here. I like that under. We added the under 217. Hockey, official plays in the NHL. I like Florida. Took them down. I leaned to Boston under 6.5. Just not enough information on the goaltending side of things. I did lock down Colorado Avalanche. I did take the Vegas Golden Knights, and I'm on St. Mary's -4.5. That's going to do it for us tonight, you guys. I appreciate everybody rocking here and taking the time to hit that like button is the most important thing for us here. Nunya says LFG Fresno. I want to bet them so bad. And I was actually kind of thinking on the other side of that one. So caution, tread with caution. I know that line's moved about 3 points from where it started off here, but let's keep it rolling, guys. Ron Walsax is great usual. Thanks, man. Appreciate you dropping in, Ron. Chris Mack, favorite spot, Melton over 13.5 points. I like me some Milton spots there. Tease, Mike, I sent you my card for tonight. Tease, I did see that, my guy. I appreciate that, dude. Thanks for sharing. We're going to get you up on here as well. Our college basketball extraordinaire himself is going to be part of that upcoming programming I was talking to you guys about. Rebecca Evans, see you tonight on the NFL stream. Absolutely, Rebecca Evans. I'll be there. I hope you guys are there. And shout out to our guy, Jimmy the Bag, for hosting tonight. Going to be a ton of cast. We got Troy Torrance coming in there. We got Ian Babano coming in there. I know C-Mac will stop by. I'm going to be there, and I don't want to leave anybody else out, so I'm not going to go down the line here. We're already at the hour mark, you guys. Again, I appreciate you dropping in. Make sure you hit that like button. Go back and watch the damn promo again. T, can we roll the promo one more time? I want to see that goddamn thing. It gets me all excited. Last call, baby.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are live. PSR is excited to present to you Last Call, featuring your boy, the Pimp Slap POD, Mike M.
We are live, and you are here. Let's go, Billy Bridge. How you doing, Dutch? What up, brother? Bouncer, what's up, brother? LJ from the HLJ.
Mike, man, happy to be here, man.
T on the ones and twos. The -7.5, the official number we'll use. And the lines move 2 points. And this is not a show to be late for.
And now, let's get to the picks.
We be pumping!